I've heard of a few people who've had that experience where they've been caught up to heaven or had a supernatural encounter in where they've actually gone to heaven, and you've had one of those. I haven't.
Come with me next time.
I know. So tell us about your experience. Where were you?
I was in my office at church, simply sitting on the floor, as I often do when I pray. One of my sons was in there with me, and we're just praying and worshipping the Lord together. And suddenly I felt a wind come into the room. The windows were closed, the door was closed, but there was this definite feeling of a wind in the room. And unexpectedly and suddenly I was just caught up in like a whirlwind.
Wow.
And I was aware that I was in a vortex of light.
Wow. So what's your head thinking right then?
Oh, mate, my head was kind of... I'm thinking two things. I'm thinking, well, I have to really steady myself or I'm going to flip out because of the wind was just taking me somewhere. The other thing that I was thinking was, gee, this is getting kind of narrower as I go up, and I'm going to hit my head pretty soon. You know, so the natural mind is still there, but there was this other spirit dynamic that's happening. So when I got to the top, it was just easy to go through into this place.
Wow.
It was like...
And you know that it was heaven.
Well, I knew, because I just came into this place where it was absolutely beautiful. I mean, the grass was as green a grass as I've ever seen. But the thing that really hit me as I looked around, there were no horizons.
Wow.
It was like endlessness. I guess it was eternity.
Yeah.
And there's no limits and no containment. And so there I was, and I found myself very quickly walking towards a light. And as I walked towards the light, I knew that this was where Jesus would be.
Wow.
So I walked there, and I came to a place where there was a veil. And this veil, like, consumed the whole of the space that was there. It was, and as I looked at this veil, this beautiful veil, I became aware it's his robe. Wow. You know how it says the train of his robe filled the temple with glory.
Yeah.
So I'm there looking at this robe, and the more I looked, the more I realised that though it filled the whole space, the reality was I was just looking at one fold in the robe. Yeah. And so I'm just, just awestruck. And then I became aware that I'm carrying something.
Right.
And I looked down and I was carrying firewood.
As you do.
As you do. You do. If you go to heaven, you take your firewood with you, right?
Right.
So I'm carrying firewood and not understanding anything, but still conscious of the veil. And I felt being pulled into the veil.
Right.
So I actually stepped into the veil and just walked into this most glorious place, this most spectacular place of light that I actually don't have words to describe. And while I'm in there, I bump into my son that I was on the floor praying with back on earth.
Yeah.
He said to me, "Mum, what are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, what are you doing here? I got here first, you know?" So we're in the glory together.
Yeah.
And then as suddenly as I stepped in, I stepped out. And I've got my arms full. And I had been praying that the Lord would help me to understand things about revival and healing and finances. And so as I stepped out, and I've still got my arms full, and I can't see him, I can still just see the robe. Yeah. But he asked, "Well, what's in your heart? What do you want?" And I'm trying to explain, I've actually come to ask you about revival and about healing and about finances. But I'm just thinking how to put this. But it was all like in the spirit when you think it's out there.
Right.
And so I'm saying, sort of to myself, but to the Lord, I'm looking. I want to understand about revival. I want to understand about healing and finances. I need these things. And he said to me, "You already have them."
Wow.
And I'm like, "Well, how do I tell the Almighty that He's wrong? How do I say I don't have them?" And he said to me, "Just look in your arms." And I'm still holding what I thought was firewood. But having been in the glory and come out, it was no longer firewood. It was solid gold.
Wow.
The wood
Yeah.
or the earthly material had become solid gold. And so I said, "Oh, Lord, wow." I'm just like, wow. And he said to me, "You need to go back." And I didn't want to. And I said, "I don't know the way back. I kind of came up here on a whirly thing, you know, and I don't want to go back."
Yeah.
And then the Lord just spoke. He said, "You're already back." And I was in my office praying on the floor.
Wow.
You know, Sharon, we have stuff that we don't know we have.
Yeah.
God has given to us things that we're still asking Him for, because the spirit realm is but a breath away.
Wow.
So it was just one of those wonderful experiences that I'll never forget.
Makes me just want to go there.
Come with me.
I will.